We're counting down the top 5 most valuable and rare Lincoln pennies that could change your life if you find one. Imagine pulling a simple penny from your pocket change. Could be worth hundreds, thousands, or even millions of dollars. That's the magic of rare Lincoln pennies coins we use every day, hiding unbelievable treasures. What if I told you that one specific of 1960 for rarest Lincoln penny could be worth not just a few $100s, not just a couple of thousand, but an absolutely, that's right, this coin is one of the rarest and most mysterious pieces of American numismatic history. A coin that still puzzles collectors and keeps the excitement alive with every discovery. Stay tuned, because one you don't want to miss, and by the end of this video, you'll know exactly why it's worth so much and how to spot one in your own collection. The 1960 for rarest Lincoln penny begins in a turbulent time for American coinage. The early 1960s brought about a massive coin shortage in the United States. People were hoarding silver coins, the mint was under intense pressure to keep up with demand. And 1964 was a transitional year that saw more changes than most collectors realize. During this time, the Denver Mint was striking millions upon millions of standard Lincoln pennies, but hidden within all that chaos, a small batch of coins unlike any others slipped through, coins that look more like special mint strike pieces than normal circulation issues. And here's where the magic begins. Now, why is this coin so valuable? It all comes down to rarity, mystery, and collector demand. Fewer than a handful of these coins are known to exist, and each time one has surfaced at auction, collectors have gone absolutely wild. Imagine the adrenaline of seeing one of these coins come up for bidding and knowing you're looking at something so few people on Earth have ever held. That's why the value soars into the $10,000 to $14,000 range, with the very finest examples stretching closer to $20,000. For a 1-cent coin, that's mind-blowing. Collectors often ask, how can you tell if you got one of these legendary coins? The key is in the details. Regular 1960 for Lincoln pennies are plentiful, billions were minted. But the SMS examples show characteristics no normal penny of the era would display. The strike is unusually strong, with Lincoln's hair and coat sharply defined. The rims are squared off and crisp, almost like a metal rather than a standard coin. The fields, or flat areas, have a smooth satin-like texture rather than the duller finish you'd expect. These subtle, but undeniable details make all the difference, and they're exactly what professional graders look for when authenticating the coin. Now, when we talk about errors and special strikes, the story always gets more fascinating. Some experts believe that these coins were experimental strikes produced as part of testing for the upcoming SMS coins of 1965. Others speculate that they may have been struck as presentation pieces for government officials or mint employees. And then there's the possibility that they were simply mistakes coins, struck with proof-like dies or experimental preparations that somehow escaped the mint. Whatever the true origin, the fact remains, they shouldn't exist, but they do, and that's what makes them worth tens of thousands of dollars. Another aspect that fuels the mystery is that even within the coin collecting community, there's debate about how to classify the 1960 for rarest Lincoln penny. Some call it an error, others a pattern, and some simply label it a mystery strike. But what everyone agrees on is that its value is undeniable. When you have a coin that combines rarity, controversy, and beauty, it's destined to command premium prices. Collectors love not just the coin itself, but the story, the chase, and the bragging rights of owning something so few others will ever see. One of the most mysterious and rarest modern coins in American history, the 1968 era Lincoln penny. To most people, it's just a copper coin that buys nothing in today's world. But to collectors, this one coin can be the difference between pocket change and life-changing money. And the best part, these coins are still out there, waiting to be found. Stay with me until the very end, because I'm going to walk you through the history, the value, and the secrets of this incredible coin. And who knows, you might just realize that you've been holding one without even knowing it. The 1968 Lincoln penny itself is not particularly rare. Billions were struck, and they come from 3 different mints: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. But hidden among these ordinary coins are error strikes so rare, so bizarre, and so mysterious that collectors are willing to pay thousands upon thousands of dollars to own them. And when I say rare, I mean coins that sometimes exist in only a handful of known examples. Imagine a sea of billions of regular pennies, and somewhere inside that sea, a few error coins glimmering like diamonds. That's exactly what the 1968 error Lincoln penny is all about. The most famous errors of 1968 involve double dies, off-center strikes, wrong planchet errors, and striking mistakes that give the coin an otherworldly appearance. But the star of the show is the rare 1968 error Lincoln penny that has been confirmed at major auctions to sell for jaw-dropping amounts upwards of $25,000 to $30,000. And in certain cases, even reaching a staggering $33,000. This is the kind of coin that takes an everyday object worth 1 cent and transforms it into a small fortune. But what makes these error pennies so valuable? First, it's all about rarity. While billions of 1968 Lincoln pennies were minted, only a handful contain these dramatic minting errors. Think of it like a printing mistake in a famous book, or a misprint on a rare baseball card. Collectors go crazy for them. When an error happens at the mint, especially one as dramatic as a double die or a wrong planchet strike, the result is a coin that is instantly set apart from the rest of its generation. And because so few are ever produced, their rarity skyrockets their value. The second factor is condition. Imagine finding a rare 1968 error Lincoln penny, but it's been scratched up from years of circulation. It's still valuable, but nowhere near the jaw-dropping amounts that pristine, mint condition examples can bring. The coins that have sold for $25,000 or more are often graded at the highest levels by professional services. The better the grade, the higher the demand, and the higher the price collectors are willing to pay. Another type of error that makes the 1968 Lincoln penny so valuable is the off-center strike. Normally, a coin is struck perfectly within its rim, but when the blank is fed incorrectly into the press, the design can appear dramatically off-center. Sometimes Lincoln's face is only half visible, or the rim is cut away, leaving a crescent-shaped blank area. The more dramatic the off-center strike, the rarer and more valuable the coin becomes. And when we're talking about a 1968 Lincoln penny, these kinds of errors can catapult the value from a few $100s into the tens of thousands. This is the incredible story of the 1973 error Lincoln penny, a coin so rare, so mysterious, and so valuable that collectors around the world are desperate to find it. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly why this coin is worth such extraordinary sums, what makes it so special, and most importantly, how you might still stumble across. Imagine holding a penny in your hand, one you've probably seen thousands of times before, the humble 1-cent coin that most people overlook. Now imagine that very same penny is not worth 1 cent, not even a few dollars, but instead carries a staggering price. Sounds unbelievable, right? The 1973 Lincoln penny on the surface is one of the most ordinary coins in American history. Billions were struck across the Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco mints. For most people, a 1973 penny means nothing more than a copper coin, tossed in a change jar, lying forgotten at the bottom of a drawer, or mixed in with pocket change at the grocery store. But hidden among those billions are a few error coins that break the rules of minting, coins that should never have left the U.S. Mint. These are the legendary 1973 error Lincoln pennies. The ones that have shocked collectors and stunned the numismatic world when they appear at auctions. What makes these pennies so extraordinary is that they showcase mistakes from the minting process that turn them into once-in-a-lifetime treasures. Unlike regular circulation strikes, these error coins might show doubling on the inscriptions, off-center designs, or even the remarkable possibility of being struck on the wrong metal planchet. These are not small imperfections, these are dramatic, visible errors that transform a coin from pocket change into a 5-figure masterpiece. And when one of these coins reaches the auction block, the prices climb higher and higher until they reach the jaw-dropping levels of $38,000 to $46,000. Collectors often talk about double dies when discussing valuable pennies, and the 1973 error Lincoln penny is no exception. Imagine looking closely at the words on your penny and seeing ghost-like doubling on each letter. To most people, it might look like their eyes are playing tricks, but to a collector, that doubling is a signal that you're holding something incredibly valuable. These double die errors are among the most sought after because they are so easy to identify and so dramatic in appearance. And then, there are the holy grail mistakes, the wrong planchet strikes. Picture this: the US Mint accidentally striking a 1973 Lincoln penny on a blank meant for a dime, a foreign coin, or even a different denomination entirely. Suddenly you have a coin that's not just rare, but unique, a one-of-a-kind piece that drives collectors wild. These wrong planchet errors are the kind that can push values into the upper range, soaring past $40,000 and sometimes climbing even higher when collectors battle it out to own a piece of minting history that simply shouldn't exist. Let's take a trip to the auction floor for a moment. Imagine the tension in the room as a 1973-era Lincoln penny is introduced, certified and authenticated by one of the top grading services. The bidding starts modestly, perhaps a few $1,000s. But within minutes, the numbers climb into five figures. $15,000, $38,000, $43,000. The air grows thick with excitement as collectors raise their paddles, each determined not to lose this chance. Finally, the hammer comes down at $46,000, and everyone in the room knows they just witnessed history. That's the kind of energy these coins bring, an energy that's impossible to ignore. That's the incredible story behind one of the most mysterious and valuable pennies ever to leave the US Mint, the 1970-60-era Lincoln penny. To most people, it's just 1 cent. To collectors, it's a rare masterpiece of American coinage, a once-in-a-lifetime discovery that can transform pocket change into a life-changing treasure. Stay with me, because the history, the errors, and the unbelievable values behind this coin will keep you on the edge of your seat until the very end. The 1976 Lincoln penny itself is no stranger to collectors. It was struck during the year of America's bicentennial celebrations, a time when quarters, half dollars, and dollars carried special commemorative designs. But the humble penny did not change its design. Abraham Lincoln's portrait remained on the obverse, and the Lincoln Memorial still stood proudly on the reverse. Millions upon millions of these pennies were struck, including countless ones at the Denver Mint, marked with the small D mint mark. On the surface, the 1970-60 Lincoln penny was as ordinary as they come. But buried within this ocean of copper coins, a handful of errors emerged, mistakes so rare and so spectacular that they have stunned the numismatic world. The 1970-60-era Lincoln penny is special because it breaks the rules. These are coins that should never have left the mint, but somehow did, carrying dramatic mistakes that make them instantly recognizable to trained eyes. Some were struck off-center, some display double dies, and others reveal the almost unbelievable scenario of being struck on the wrong planchet. Each of these errors is like a fingerprint of chaos within the mint, a mistake frozen forever in metal. And because so few exist, collectors are willing to pay astronomical sums to own one. That's why we see prices climbing to $50,000, $58,000, or even $60,000 when these coins appear on the auction block. One of the most famous types of errors found on the 1970-60 Lincoln penny is the double die. Imagine taking a magnifying glass to the words and noticing that each letter seems to have been struck twice. The doubling can be so clear that it looks like a shadow or ghost image hovering just above the normal inscription. This isn't damage, it's a minting mistake caused during the die creation process. For collectors, a double die is like striking gold. Another spectacular error is the off-center strike. This happens when the blank planchet is fed into the press incorrectly, causing the design to appear shifted. Sometimes Lincoln's portrait is only partially visible, or part of the coin is left completely blank, creating a crescent-shaped gap. The more dramatic the misalignment, the rarer and more valuable the coin becomes. While small off-center strikes might bring in hundreds or thousands, an extreme off-center error on a 1970-60 Lincoln penny in pristine condition can skyrocket toward the $50,000 range. Picture the scene at an auction house. The room is buzzing as the auctioneer introduces a certified 1970-60-era Lincoln penny, one of only a handful known to exist. The bidding begins modestly, at a few $1,000s. Quickly, the numbers leap higher. $10,000, $20,000, $30,000. Collectors raise their paddles, unwilling to let this treasure slip away. The energy builds as the price hits $50,000, then $58,000. Finally, after a tense battle, the hammer falls at $60,000, and the crowd erupts in applause. That's the reality of this coin. It's not just money. It's history, rarity, and the thrill of owning something. One of the most jaw-dropping rarities in American coinage, the 1978 D-era Lincoln penny. To most people, it's just a cent, but for collectors, it's a priceless piece of history, a coin that tells a story of minting mistakes, survival, and breathtaking value. By the time we finish this journey, you'll understand exactly why this penny has shocked the coin world, and why it continues to send collectors scrambling every time one appears. Imagine holding a simple penny, something you've seen thousands of times in your life, and realizing that this tiny coin, the 1978 Lincoln penny itself, might seem ordinary at first glance. It belongs to the long-running Lincoln Memorial Series, which was first introduced in 1959 to honor the 150th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. On the obverse, we see Victor David Brenner's classic portrait of Lincoln, a design first introduced in 1909, still standing tall decades later. On the reverse, the Lincoln Memorial design dominates, symbolizing strength and national unity. Millions upon millions of these pennies poured out of the U.S. Mint that year, including a massive number from the Denver Mint, easily recognized by the small D mint mark. In circulation, they were everywhere, but hidden among them. The story of the 1978 D-era Lincoln penny is a story of imperfection turned into treasure. At the Mint, machines strike thousands of coins per hour, a process that leaves almost no room for mistakes. But when mistakes do happen, they create coins unlike any other, coins that were never meant to exist. For the 1978 D Lincoln penny, errors came in many different forms, from double dies to off-center strikes to the ultra-rare wrong planchet strikes. Each one tells a different story, and each one sends its value soaring far beyond the imagination. Let's start with the double die errors. Imagine taking a magnifying glass to your 1978 D Lincoln penny and noticing that the words look like they've been struck twice. The letters may appear doubled, almost like they're casting a shadow. This doubling happens during the die-making process, and it gives the coin a distinct, eye-catching appearance. For collectors, double dies are some of the most thrilling errors to discover, and on a 1978 D Lincoln penny, they can push the value into the tens of thousands of dollars. In pristine condition, one could easily sell for $66,000 or more. Then there are the off-center strikes. These errors happen when the blank planchet isn't perfectly aligned in the coining press. The result is a coin where Lincoln's portrait is shifted, leaving part of the design missing, and sometimes even exposing a crescent-shaped blank area. The more dramatic the off-center strike, the rarer the coin becomes. While minor off-center errors might bring in hundreds or a few $1,000s, extreme off-center strikes on a 1978 D Lincoln penny in high grade can bring value soaring towards $69,000. Picture the scene at an auction. Collectors gather, knowing that a rare 1978 D-era Lincoln penny is about to cross the block. The bidding starts low, perhaps a few $1,000s, but the price climbs rapidly as the rarity of the coin becomes clear. $10,000, $20,000, $30,000. The numbers rise quickly. Soon, the coin breaks the $50,000 to $69,000 mark, and the energy in the room builds. Two determined collectors battle it out, pushing the price higher and higher until finally, the hammer falls at $74,000. The crowd erupts in excitement because they know they've just witnessed history. That's the power of this coin.